Hare Krishna. Hare Hare Krishna. So welcome all the IRS devotees for this very special evening. And to enlighten all of us, we have with us His Holiness Bhakti Rasayan Sagar Swami Maharaj. So just to have a brief introduction of Maharaj. So Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Bola Maitri. Hare Krishna. So currently, His Holiness Bhakti Rasayan Sagar Swami Maharaj, he is the only sannyasi disciple of His Holiness Indradyumna Swami Maharaj. Originally, Maharaj is from Russia. He joined ISKCON in 1989 and he received sannyas in 2016 in Sridham Mayapur. And since then, he is traveling all over the world. He has completed 14 tours all over the world with teaching and training various categories of people with the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. Haribo. So Maharaj, he conducts various leadership courses in ISKCON and he has done many services. Currently, he is doing so many services as Sankirtan leader, temple president, regional secretary, GBC deputy member, and presently he is a member of Sabha, which is the advisory body of Governing Body Commission. So Maharaj is very famous for his very interactive courses, and he connects to people from corporate world, from youth all over the world, and he is very busy traveling. Yesterday he had a late night from a program. Now he is coming all the way from GV, right, directly landing here, I think, in Gopalji Hall. So Maharaj has been very kind to all of us. At just a short notice, he has agreed to give us this wonderful topic, session on this wonderful topic, purity is the force. All of us know everything is driven by the purity. And Maharaj, he is very well known for speaking and sharing his own wisdom, his knowledge, and his stories of book distribution in Russia and in many places in the world. And I'm sure we'll be listening today also very exciting stories. Yesterday also we heard some of the very wonderful, humorous, serious stories on book distribution by Maharaj in one program. So in our traditional style, all of us will welcome Maharaj very loudly, chanting 3 times. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So after such a bright introduction, I hope not to disappoint all of you. And yes, I'm traveling all over the world and addressing the youth, but all over the world is basically Indian youth anyway. So now Bharat has been spreading its influence all over the planet, which is good, I think. And so we'll start with a prayer dedicated to our Guru Parampara. And then we will try to say a few words, and probably most of the time we can dedicate to discussions, questions and answers. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyanandjana Salakaya Chaksuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vanchakam Patrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshakarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Budaya Mahaprema Prabhu Nirmaya Kshitya Purusha Punkte Guna Sada Sada Satmaka Imam Krishna Bhagavan Vacham Sime Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya 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 Hare Krishna. So there are lots of verses in Bhagavad Gita in relation to purity. And we'll read one which is one of my favorites. That is chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness, or Sannyas Karma Yoga. And that is text 10. Brahmanyadhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti ya likyate na sapapena padma padram ivam bhasa. And we have a translation of this verse in a poetic form by His Grace Kalakanta Prabhu, one of the senior Prabhupada disciples and spiritual masters in ISKCON. One who serves the Lord and offers all rewards to Him, like a lotus leaf on water, stays untouched by sin. And we'll read Srila Prabhupada's purport to this verse. Here, Brahmani means in Krishna consciousness. The material world is a sum total manifestation of the three modes of material nature, technically called the pradhana. The Vedic hymns Sarvam Etat Brahma, Manduki Upanishad 2, Tasmat Eta Brahma, Namarupam Annam Chayate, Mundaka Upanishad 1 to 10, and in the Bhagavad Gita 14:3, Mama Yunir Mahat Brahma indicate that everything in the material world is a manifestation of Brahman, and although the effects are differently manifested, they are non-different from the cause. In the Upanishad, it is said that everything is related to the Supreme Brahman or Krishna, and thus everything belongs to Him only. One who knows perfectly well that everything belongs to Krishna, that He is the proprietor of everything, and that therefore everything is engaged in the service of the Lord, naturally has nothing to do with the results of his activities, whether virtuous or sinful. Even one's material body being a gift of the Lord for carrying out a particular type of action can be engaged in Krishna consciousness. So we're not used to think like that, that this body is a gift of Krishna to help us to be engaged in His service. But this is what Srila Prabhupada explains here. It is then beyond contamination by sinful reactions, exactly as the lotus leaf, though remaining in the water, is not wet. It's interesting that lotus is growing from mud, and yet it is pure. So even though material world is full of contamination, but if we are in touch with the Supreme Lord, we might be, as Jesus Christ said, in this world but not of this world, untouched by any type of contamination of this world. The Lord also says in Gita 3:30, Mai sarvani karmani sannyasa, resign all works unto me, Krishna. The conclusion is that a person without Krishna consciousness acts according to the concept of the material body and senses, but a person in Krishna consciousness acts according to the knowledge that the body is the property of Krishna and should therefore be engaged in the service of Krishna. So yes, our subject for tonight is purity, that purity is the force, and it is very simple. Who is the most pure and who is the source of all purity? Anyone can tell us? Krishna, yes. So Krishna is the purest. And who is the most powerful? Krishna. So if we are connected to Krishna, this is where the power comes from, right? And I'm pretty sure that many of you had this experience that all power, all empowerment is coming from Krishna. Anyone had this experience? Okay, so yeah, that's the beauty of Krishna consciousness, that it's not a mere abstract theoretical philosophy, it's spiritual science. You read something, you apply it in your life, and you see the results. And so, if anyone wants to share how you transcended difficult situations in the material world by connecting to Krishna and becoming free from the contaminating influence of the material world, you can share your experience. Anyone would like to say if you had some interesting experiences in Krishna consciousness? We have a radio microphone? Yes? Okay. So you can raise your hand. No one had any interesting experiences? Okay. You can pass it all the way to the back.
Before giving Krishna consciousness, I used to see unwanted things in movies, mobile, and I don't know what to hear, what to speak, what to see. But after giving Krishna consciousness, I know that what is the eternal thing to do, and what to hear, and what to know about Krishna.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Thank you. Anyone else? You can pass microphone.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. So before coming to Krishna consciousness, we used to think that everything will go bad. But right now, after Krishna consciousness, there have been instances where you feel that nothing could go worse, and somehow it gets solved after coming to Krishna consciousness. But Lord always helps in the end. So that perspective changes after coming to Krishna consciousness.
Okay, Krishna is always helping in all difficult situations, especially at the exams, right? Any of you had the experience that Krishna is helping in difficulty? Okay, good. Anyone else wants to share? Yeah, pass on the microphone.
Hare Krishna, my friend with Pranam. I had experience like
back 2 3 years back, I used to feel that I was controlling my career or my things around me, but somehow or the other, I was losing everything. And then I realized that, I just sincerely prayed to Krishna that you are in everyone's heart, even mine. So I request you that please, help me in this situation. So even in my career, because I tried to switch my career and I was not having that chance, and a lot of interviews, but I didn't make it. But I had one final interview and it was like, either I stay in this company or I get into the other one. So that was where I was praying Krishna. You also in that manager's heart. So I could lose it. So that was the experience. It may be mundane, but it was like, somehow, interview after 2 or 3 rounds, I was in like whether I get it or not. So I totally lost all my hopes and I sincerely prayed. It was mundane, but in all other situations also, I raise my hands and I say, Hari Bol, it's all now, it's all out of my hand, it's up to you. So, those are my
Yes, it's very interesting. Sometimes Krishna is taking away something just to give us something better, right? If you remember how Srila Prabhupada, when he was trying to fulfill the instruction of his Guru Maharaj and give more time to preaching, and then he was neglecting his business, and at some point his business totally collapsed and he lost everything, and whatever was remaining his workers took away, right? They left with whatever valuables they could find in this business. So he ended up with totally nothing, right? But then he was happy with that. He said, "Oh, this is Krishna," and then he quoted Bhagavatam, Krishna saying, "Yasyaham anugrinami harishitattanam kshanay." My first mercy to my devotee that I take everything material from him. And then when devotee loses everything material, materialistic people, they lose interest in devotee. And then devotee has to surrender to Krishna. And then Krishna and Vaishnavas, they become his associates, his association. And so it's actually a blessing in disguise. And we can see that Srila Prabhupada was doing business obviously not for his own purposes. He wanted to make good money to use in the service of Guru and Krishna. But somehow Krishna was not giving this opportunity. Rather, he had to give money to his wife, which was not very supporting, right? So, but after he lost his business, he realized, okay, it's Krishna's mercy. This business was useless anyway, was not making much money, and was just burdening me, and was obliging me to give money to the wife. And now I have no money, no business, so I am free to do what my Guru Maharaj asked me to do. And then this is why he was so happy. And then he just went forward and totally dedicated himself to preaching, and eventually he went to the Western world, as we know, and all the money he was meant to make through the business, as he was thinking, he made through preaching. And I think it's been calculated that in the next 11 years, from 1966, once he registered ISKCON, Krishna gave him around $3 billion, which is, what's that in Indian currency? $3 billion. What's that? 25,000 crores. Yeah, more than 25,000 crores rupees. You can imagine, So, after all, it was more profitable to serve Krishna, as we understand. So, yeah, there is no loss. And my Guru Maharaj had very interesting experience as well when he met devotees for the first time. He was at Ann Arbor. He was studying in university, and as we know, many times students they also work to cover the tuition fees. So he was working at the same time as a gardener in the same university, and he had a little room as a gardener with the tools. And after he met the devotees, he was thinking, like, I'm just wasting my time studying in uni and working here. I should be serving Krishna. But how do I make this transition? And they gave him, devotees gave him picture of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And they said, he is the guru of our guru, so he is even more merciful than Srila Prabhupada. And he had a table in that little room, and he put Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's picture on the table, and he folded his hands and he said, Dear Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, please help me to become disentangled from this material conditioning and fully dedicate myself to your service. And then he bowed down to the picture. And while he was bowing down, he saw, on the floor level, two pairs of boots appearing. And very angry voice saying, what's happening here? What kind of cult is here? And he raised his head and he saw the principal of the university, who said, so you started following some strange cult? People like that have no place in our university. You are fired from your job and you cannot continue to study in our university also. And he left. And then my Guru Maharaj said, I looked at him, I looked at Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and I said, thank you very much for so quickly answering all my prayers. So like that, sometimes it is happening in Krishna consciousness. So we never know what is the loss, what is the gain. Sometimes the gain can be big loss, and sometimes what appears to be a loss can be a great gain. And so we just have to follow Krishna and try to serve him, and he will arrange everything for our better, for us in the best way. So if there are any questions on how to be always Krishna conscious, right? Because this is where the purity is coming from. And I hope all of you are interested in that, and all of you not just believe, uh, you know, because I am from Russia, we have some Russian jokes, and we say that if someone requests us to believe something, that means there is no hope. Because belief means, may or may not be, something very theoretical. But we don't just believe, we actually know by experience, right? So we don't have only gyan, we have vigyan, we have practical scientific knowledge by experience how Krishna consciousness is beneficial. And that's why we wanted, we want to absorb ourselves as much as possible in Krishna consciousness. At the same time, as Bhagavad Gita says, you know, Tasmat Sarveshu Kalishu Mamanusmara Yudecha. You remember this. Chapter 8, text 7. Krishna says, at all times, remember me and fight. So sometimes fighting can be continuing with your studies, right? So, but this is your Kurukshetra for serving Krishna, because once you get your degree and once you have professional experience, then you can use it very nicely in Krishna consciousness as well, and use that to influence other people in Krishna consciousness. So all these can be used as tools. We don't want to artificially renounce anything, but as Prabhupada explains, we want to use everything in Krishna's service. And I think it's very interesting. Chowpatty always was the first, even in regards to proper standards for youth. That if you want to become brahmachari, you have to complete your education and you have to have some successful work experience, right? Only then you can renounce. So renunciation means you have to have something to renounce from. Because if someone has nothing, what you will renounce? Srila Prabhupada was joking that if I come to bank and I'll tell, okay, I renounce all the money in the bank. What is this statement? But if you have something, renunciation means you can use that advantage in serving Guru Krishna and Vaishnavas. So material advantages, they are considered to be zeros, right? Because they mean nothing in the material world, because we lose it all. You know, our wealth, our health, our position in the society, name, fame, whatever, beauty, anything we have. These are all considered to be zeros, worthless on their own. But if you add Krishna to the equation, and Krishna is one, and the more zeros you have following the one, the greater the number is, right? Then suddenly, whatever advantages you have can become very valuable tools in serving Krishna. So that's our understanding. But at the same time, while fighting against the influence of the material energy, trying to recover as much as we can for Krishna, in Krishna's service, we still have to remember Krishna at the same time and be always surrendered unto Him. So that's our goal. And we can discuss whatever questions you have in this regard, or maybe some other questions. That's okay. You can ask. Microphone.
Whereas with regards to the topic, purity is the first. Oftentimes I have heard from that when we have purity, then the preaching is very effective. And many times purity is also called key. Purity is the first. So first make yourself pure and then go out and preach. So in this regard, I also heard that this is not only a factor in preaching with regard to purity, because One example I heard in another lecture is Srila Prabhupada was obviously a pure devotee and he converted atheists. He had an impact in Western world. But when he was traveling in India for preaching, he had done multiple endeavors in Jhansi and in various other places, but the outcome was not so successful as compared to the West. So I just want to understand how purity is the force in preaching and like what are the other factors apart from just purity.
Yeah. Well, yes, purity is always the force, but Krishna gives results, may not give results immediately. It's all Krishna's plan. And, it's what's happening between devotee and Krishna, we may not know. And devotees may not tell us always. But when Srila Prabhupada was in Jhansi, he was he only had one follower, right? Acharya Prabhakar, his first disciple. And so when they had this Radha Bhavan, right, this building they were using for preaching center and temple, and they only two of them stayed in there, and Acharya Prabhakar was trying to serve Srila Prabhupada, who was known as Abhay Babu, right? Abhay Charanaravinda Prabhu at the time. And there is one episode which Srila Prabhupada never mentioned, but it was mentioned by Srila Prabhupada's disciple, Mula Prakriti Mataji. There is one very wonderful book she wrote, which is entitled Srila Prabhupada, Friend of All. And she interviewed different people who knew Srila Prabhupada before he journeyed to America. And this is what Acharya Prabhakar remembered, that he said, one night I was sleeping on the upper floor, and then we had our temple room at the ground floor, and I heard kirtan, playing mridanga and singing. I was thinking, what's happening in the middle of night? And he said, I was totally confused. Then I came down, and he said, I saw Srila Prabhupada. He was alone playing mridanga and singing kirtan very loudly. And he was crying. But his tears were not like dripping. They were like, coming. A lot of tears were coming from his eyes. And his whole kurta was wet with tears. This was unusual. In the middle of night, he's singing kirtan and crying like this. But the most shocking thing was that he had a garland of kadamba flowers on his neck. And two things were unbelievable. I mean, nothing unusual about kadamba garland, but it was not a season for kadamba flowers at all, one thing. And second thing, that these flowers were very, very large. He said, I never saw such size of kadamba flowers. So he was confused. Why Srila Prabhupada, where he got this garland, amazing garland of kadamba flowers out of season and so big, and why he was singing and crying in the middle of night. And then he asked Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada didn't want to tell. But then, if someone doesn't want to tell you, then you become even more curious. So he was pushing and insisting, and their relationship, okay, he was disciple, Srila Prabhupada was guru, but they were more like partners in preaching, kind of, So he started insisting. He said, "No, I want to know." And Prabhupada realized that he will never, let him go. He will have to tell. And he said, "Okay, I'll tell you that I was very desperate, and I was praying to the Lord in the middle of night. I couldn't sleep. I was praying to the Lord that, I have such a difficult task given to me by my Guru Maharaj, and I don't know how to do it. And I was praying to Krishna to please help me." And I was crying, being desperate. And suddenly Krishna appeared. And he said, "Don't worry, I will arrange everything. Just wait, that your time will come, and I will bless you with full success." And Krishna was wearing this garland of kadamba flowers. And Krishna took this garland of his neck and he put it on Srila Prabhupada. And then Krishna left. And he said, "I'm so happy that Krishna came and blessed me like that." So if it's a failure or success, judge for yourself. If something like that would ever happen in our life, we wouldn't want anything else, right? But it was very intimate, of course, exchange, and we would never know about it if Acharya Prabhakar would not share it. So, yeah. So Prabhupada was always successful, no matter what was happening, whether he was going through hard times or successful times in his life. But at some point, Krishna allowed external success to be manifested in a big way. Hare Krishna. Okay, microphone.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much. Prabhu, I just wanted to ask one thing. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that always think about me, offer obeisances to me, and you are very dear to me. You will definitely resolve to me. So, some of the other times when we chant the name of the Krishna, our mind is like a monkey. It doesn't even take our mind is not in, mind focus not in that particular name. It jumps here and there. So whenever we do any kind of work, for let's take an example, we are doing our job, and at that point of time we want to think about Krishna, but sometimes mind doesn't allow to think about Krishna. So would you be able to help us some tips that at the time of chanting we are unable to think about Krishna? So but we want to do it, but mind doesn't allow, and we are forcing mind to get into it, but still it doesn't allow. So it is very powerful. So any tips that whenever we chant, it doesn't allow, and whatever we do, any kind of job or activities, how we can put our mind into Krishna's lotus feet.
Yeah, this is very good question. What is your name?
Mayur Soni.
Mayur.
Yes.
So Mayur wants to know how to focus mind on Krishna while chanting. Anyone else is interested to know about it? Okay, very good. So yeah, there are so many different things we could recommend. Actually, one of my favorite devotees, of course, my Guru Maharaj is an amazing example of someone who is very, very serious about his japa. Because I traveled with him and I could see how much time and attention he gives to chanting the holy name. And quite a few Srila Prabhupada disciples, they show this example. One of them is Mahatma Prabhu, so he wrote this Japa guide book, 20 ways to focus. I can't remember what's the name of the book. Anyway, it's he's describing how to focus on our mind, on Krishna, while we chant, and then he wrote another book, 20 more ways to focus, etc. And I heard so many uh, advices from different senior Vaishnavas, Srila Jayapataka Maharaj and others as well. So I'm planning to publish a book, 108 Ways to Focus on Krishna. And 108 ways is absolute minimum because it's a good number, but it could be much more than that. I'll just give you an example that one way to focus is to think of one of the 64 qualities of Krishna, right? So you can say one point is consisting of 64 points, and another one is to focus on one of the 25 qualities of Srimati Radharani. So it's another 25 points. But there are uh, simple methods for beginners how to focus on the holy name. And Srila Jayapataka Maharaj recommends one is that you combine it with pranayam, not doing pranayam in a yogic way, pressing one nostril, etc. But pranayam meaning that you inhale, and while exhaling on one breath, you chant as many Hare Krishna Mahamantras as you can, and count how many mantras you did in one go. And next time you inhale and you try to chant more mantras. And it's good for health. And, mind is connected to breathing very much. When we can nicely breathe, we can think of so many things. But if we cannot breathe, we can think of only one thing, how to breathe. Right? So that's why if you focused on breathing, mind is not going anywhere. And so, interestingly enough, Srila Jayapataka Maharaj, despite of his health challenges, he can chant 20 mantras on one breath. That is the proof that practice makes perfect. But oftentimes, why the mind wants to go away, why mind gets bored, because it's all the same names, so mind wants to go somewhere else, not to focus on chanting because it gets boring for him. But there is a simple thing because, for example, we like kirtan. It's much easier to focus the mind while we chant because there is a nice melody, right? But when we chant japa, oftentimes there is no melody. But it's interesting if you listen to how Srila Prabhupada is chanting, there is a melody to his chanting. And I've also noticed that my spiritual master, when he chants very nicely. He has very nice melody to the chanting. So from that, I thought, that this is really effective way to chant using a melody. By the way, I could let you listen to Indradupna Maharaj's chanting. He chanted one once or twice to record for disciples. And of course, if you know you're recorded, you would try your best. But this chanting, I recorded secretly. He was just chanting for himself, right? Which means this is how he always chants. He had no idea he's been recorded. He was just chanting for himself. And I'll let you listen to that recording. Yeah, would you like to listen? So, like that, 16 rounds. So, quite attractive when there is melody. And one other suggestion I heard from Srila Praladananda Maharaj, he told that to his disciple when he was giving initiation. And disciple was promising to chant minimum 16 rounds. He said, try to make your japa attractive. If you do not like your japa yourself, how do you expect Krishna to like your japa? So just, make it a goal. Try to make your chanting so nice, so beautiful, so attractive that you would like to listen to it. Krishna is all attractive, so we have to chant in attractive way also. So few tips are there, and if that's not enough, I'll give you a really secret one, which is given by our acharyas, and Sachinandan Maharaj also recommends that we, while chanting japa, if we want to hear the name, our first priority is to hear Krishna, right? Hare Krishna, etc. Yeah, because it's all about Krishna. But then mind goes away. Because it's not the right way to chant. Because the first and foremost name we have to focus on is Hare. Because Hare is Srimati Radharani. And she comes first. And it's only by her mercy that Krishna becomes available. So it's very interesting. If you try to focus on Krishna, mind goes away. But if you try to focus on Hare, Krishna automatically comes. This is what acharyas are explaining. If you chant Krishna, Srimati Radharani comes. If you chant Radha, Krishna comes. So that's why, in Braj, everyone's famous mantra is Radhe Radhe. Prabhupada says they all know the secret. They all approach Krishna through Srimati Radharani. So that's the way, that's the proper way to chant japa. Hare Krishna. Microphone.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my invitation. Maharaj, as we see that we work in professional corporate jobs, and what happens is sometimes the nature of the work is that we have to stretch a lot. This timing, the people around they are not conducive, and usually sadhana gets compromised heavily because of sometimes we might have to we might end up being exhausted. So, and we are also listening to these lectures of sadhana and how to focus on the holy name, and you have to really intensely do your sadhana. So as you said that you were talking about Chowpatty, you said that the concept is that you have to have some professional experience, so that later you can serve Krishna with that experience. But at that time, when you are in that condition, you think that this is I am not able to do, I am not able to do. You feel very low about it. So at that time, how do we handle our mindset to be hopeful and be encouraged?
Yes. Well, whatever you do, results which come, they are temporary, and mostly these results, they belong to others, right? Because for ourselves, how much do we need? We don't need much. So results are not the most important, but experience you get, that's the most valuable thing in any circumstances. And oftentimes, if you faced with challenging situation, it's Krishna's mercy. Why? Because it makes your brain very active and your intelligence awakens, because you have to, resolve this situation one way or the other. So it's tapasya, it's austerity, but if you dedicate it to Krishna, if you understand it's Krishna's mercy, to make me smarter, to make me more organized, to, make me, to help me prioritize and manage time properly, etc., etc. I'm getting so many benefits from that challenge. Then you'll be happy and you can remember Krishna at the time. Because our process is buddhi yoga. So intelligence is the most powerful tool in human life. You can see, unfortunately, of course, humans are not using their intelligence properly. Instead of using their intelligence in serving Krishna, they use their intelligence to dominate the world, right? But you can see how powerful human intelligence is, that we can create very comfortable situations for ourselves. Sometimes I feel so sorry for the animals. I mean, just imagine a bird, right? You found something to eat, and you always have to look here and there, because while you eat, someone else can eat you. So you cannot even, have peacefully your meal. Right? But human beings, you can sit peacefully, and you don't have to worry that someone will kill you while you take your prasadam. So that's the power of intelligence. And so, people achieve so many things by using their intelligence. So obviously, intelligence is the greatest advantage of human life, and intelligence used in Krishna's service, that's bhakti. That's why Srila Prabhupada says bhakti yoga and buddhi yoga are synonymous. And so, yeah, how intelligence develops? By going through challenges. So challenges are Krishna's mercy. And if we think like that, we'll never be too concerned about difficulties. Hare Krishna. Yes.
Hey Krishna, I have one question. Since the topic is about purity, so how do we know that we are going, step by step towards the purity, and what are the right courses that we should, get ourselves stick to, so that we don't get the wrong courses, so that we, decline from our pathway towards purity.
Yeah. Well, what is purity? It's very interesting that there are so many different statements Krishna makes in Bhagavad Gita, but there is one which he makes dozens of times. Same thing. He keeps repeating again, again, and again. And funny enough, no matter how many times I ask devotees, what is the most often repeated repeated statement of Bhagavad Gita? Hardly anyone can tell, even though, there are so many devotees who know Bhagavad Gita well. Let me try here. Anyone can tell what is the most often repeated statement in Bhagavad Gita? Do not lament, not that often, even though he repeats that about 10 times maybe. Huh? Remember me and fight, not the most often. Be steady, success and failure, yes, coming out of duality. Repeated quite often, but not so often. Mayur? Only twice he repeats that. You are not this body, not that often. Relationship between soul and super soul, not that. No. Surrender, no. Even though all the statements are there, but they're not that often repeated. Huh? Focus? Focus on your karma, not exactly. Becoming free from? Becoming equipoised, no. Giving up? Okay, I'll tell you. Do not be attached to the fruit of your labor. Detachment, renunciation. That's the most repeated statement in Bhagavad Gita. And so we have to be detached. And that's the secret of success in Krishna consciousness. I lost the train of my thought somehow. What was the question? Purity, yes. Detachment. Detachment is the purity. The more we are detached, the more pure we are. And how do we know? By associating with those devotees who are really detached. Because just today I shared one experience I had with devotees. Many of you know that there is a fighting in Ukraine, right? Russia and Ukraine, serious clash, and the territory where the fighting is going on is called Donbas, very famous now all over the world. Everybody knows Donbas, eastern Ukraine. Most of it now is annexed by Russia, and those territories which are already controlled by Russia, we also have devotees there. And one group of devotees in one city is doing food for life, because of course in the war situation there is a lot of need for prasadam for people. And an unfortunate episode took place a couple of years back. A rocket blast killed two of the leaders in one community. Very, very wonderful devotees. And it was a huge, huge loss for the community. And everyone lamented, and everyone was thinking how Krishna allowed this to happen, etc. And then devotees were asking, we've lost, our leaders, so, and nobody visits us because it's a war situation. Everybody is afraid to go there, but we're completely, we're left alone. And I told them, Okay, I have nothing to lose. I am sannyasi. If I'm alive with that, it doesn't really matter. I have no family, etc. So I'll come and I'll support you. And I started going there, which was very interesting. Sometimes you talk to devotees, you give a class, and you hear, some blasts outside, and you understand these are not fireworks. that's that's for real, and those blasts are going on all the time, and at any moment, you can be blasted, etc. So it's pretty interesting. It helps to think of Krishna. And anyway, these two leaders, they were married, and of course, when they died, their wives became widows, and one couple didn't had any children, but the other couple had three children, right? And that widow was in a very difficult situation because, I mean, she is alone and with three children. And of course, devotees felt a lot of sympathy. And then one devotee from that area, and now he lives in UK, and he used to be very, very successful businessman. He's still successful, but at that time he was fabulously rich. A lot of money he had, and then he contacted uh, this lady, this Mataji, and he said, "I'm very sorry for what happened. I want to help out. Maybe I could do something for you. I'm very successful with my business, so money is not a problem. Please tell if I could do something." And then she said, we always dreamt, myself and my husband, we always dreamt that we'll live in Mayapur and our children will study in Gurukul, etc., live in Mayapur. He said, not a problem. I'll shift you to Mayapur. I'll rent out a nice place. I'll provide you with everything so you can live in Mayapur peacefully, and your children can grow up there and study. And then he contacted a senior most leader in Ukrainian Yatra, Achyuta Prabhu, Radhanath Swami's disciple. And he said, this is what I'm planning to do. I want to rent out place in Mayapur for them, etc., and provide. And suddenly Achyuta Prabhu says, if you have enough money, why rent? You can buy them an apartment and give this apartment as a gift. He said, wow, that's even better idea. I'll do that. And then he goes back to this Mataji, and her name is Nityananda Priya Devidasi. And he says, we have even better plan. We're going to buy you a place and you can live in Mayapur until the end, as long as you want. Expecting her to be very excited about it. And then suddenly she says, I cannot go because we have very few devotees here. And if I leave, there will be a serious gap in Food for Life services. So I have to stay back and continue my Food for Life service. And she just flatly refused. And when I didn't know about it because she would never tell. But it's that devotee, I stayed in his house in London and he told me the whole story. So I came back to the place and I told the story in front of all the devotees. She was also there. glorifying her because she turned down such a brilliant opportunity for the sake of continuing her service, which in my mind, I was thinking, great example of detachment in Krishna consciousness. For a lady, that's unusual. And suddenly she says, I don't know if it's a big deal. I think any devotee would do like that. So this is, if you come across devotees like that, who are totally selfless and so innocent and sincere that they think all the devotees are like that. So I'm nothing special. Then it really makes you think, that first of all, where I am, you know, and where this devotee is, and makes, at least makes me feel very humbled and impressed by the example of real purity. And there are many, many devotees like that. And therefore, association with such devotees is the greatest fortune in our lives. I hope this answers. We're finishing.
Hare Krishna. I'm sure all of you must be more eager to hear more nectar from Maharaj. It was just as if we just began. Maharaj was sharing so many um, stories, realizations, Srila Prabhupada past I never heard of, right? So, Maharaj, we really want this nectar to continue, but the darshan has opened and we will do kirtan. But I just want to know, all of you would like to hear more of Maharaj when he comes again here next time.
Hare
Maharaj, everyone is excited. Next time, please give more time for Saibai devotees. These are the selected points from our entire community. Obviously, many couldn't come today, but then still almost 80 devotees are there. Right? So, from bottom of our heart, let us express our gratitude by loud chanting three times. So now, again, I would like to thank all of you also for coming this short notice. Yesterday I got time from Maharaj, and afternoon we released the photo, which is the poster, and many of you registered. Right? So we had to close because the capacity is limited. So once again, thank you very much for coming. Next time we have such more of the sessions. Once in a month, we'll try to invite senior devotees from our temple outside who are visiting guests, right? So that we can get their realization and try to implement and become more enthusiastic. Every day Maharaj is there in the temple, Mangalarati, whichever part of the temple, whichever part of the world he is there, whichever time he reaches, if it is Mangalarati, then he is there, right? Such an example of sincere, dedicated practices, this is what Maharaj says, brings the purity. Right? So if the person is practicing when he speaks, it touches our heart. Right? So we are extremely grateful, Maharaj. Maharaj just landed, he just came from the Navy, such hectic journey. Morning at 6 o'clock he left, came and he just landed on. So such a life of detachment, selfless attitude, we are seeing from Maharaj's personal life. So thank you all of you. Thank you Maharaj for giving your time. Now all of you can take darshan. Until 9:15, there will be prasada.